What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 7. I guess we could call this our MVP episode. Our Driussi.
We did get.
Maybe you would suggest a Kevin Durant. I know you're not as big of a KD fan, if at all, compared to your love for LeBron James. But again, we're here to talk about everybody's favorite team, and in particularly the massive 3-0 midweek win. Austin FC back on track, defeating Real Salt Lake on Wednesday night at Q2 Stadium. But alongside me, your host, Zach Graham, good to be with you. Alongside me, E. We're talking a lot about the big body today, Moussa Djitte. So the big bod E. How you doing?
I am doing excellent. I am currently at a bachelor party weekend, midweek extravaganza.
Week-long almost.
with one of my good buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Good buddies. So we watched the game last night. I got all of them into it. We had a really good time. There was another Austin FC fan with me.
Mm-hmm.
He was
Shout out AG.
He was elated. He was excited. He could not wait for Rigoni. We'll have to talk about his fictitious Gareth Bale for Emiliano Rigoni trade that he said he would not accept under any circumstance.
Wow.
He would not take Bale for Rigoni no matter what.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't know if that's like as crazy as it seems on the surface, but I think maybe we would still take Gareth Bale. I don't know.
It was like his favorite player of all time. That's what makes it more interesting. But
right.
That was a long-winded answer for I'm doing well.
Yeah, man. Well, it's good to see you, obviously, with you halfway across the country. The first game at Q2 this season that you and I had not attended together.
Yeah, good thing I didn't go, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say we had a couple things in the mix last night in terms of trying to conjure up some of the good Wuju, mixing it up. Ian out of the stadium.
We do everything we can.
Our buddy Jose with me there, filling in for you, and he did an admirable job, helping us, heckle Zach McMath. Helping me, helping myself, Brian, Mike, start some of the chants in our section. A good performance by 123, especially for a Wednesday night last night.
So it was like there was an ugly me there.
Well, you could say that. Also, Jeff, Zoe's boyfriend, my sister's boyfriend, was there, sitting elsewhere. But yeah, he texted me. He was like, "Hey, I'm here, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe I won't be allowed back if this doesn't go well."
Or you might be forced to come every time.
So, yeah, maybe we have to kidnap Jeff now for the remaining home games and throughout the playoffs. But let's go ahead and get into it here. Again, Austin FC victorious last night, 3-0 home win. Lineup changes, obviously the big one. I think I sent out an all-caps tweet. May or may not have been driving on Mopac at the time the lineup was released, but hyped up as I'm sure everybody was, that Emiliano Rigoni made his debut in the starting 11 last night, in there for Ethan Finley, as we all expected. I guess expected once that move was made, right, that he would be in there for Finley. Zan Kolmanic gets the midweek start for John Gallagher on the left, and then Driussi back in the lineup for Felipe. On the RSL side, I think there was some rotation there, obviously them being on a double game week as well. And then we knew they were going to be without these two, but I can't imagine where, I'm not saying this RSL side would be, competing with us for one of those top spots in the conference, but no Bobby Wood and no Damir Kreilach. Both guys had surgery mid-season, kind of early in the summer, and Damir Kreilach is their captain when he's healthy. So I mean, imagine having, it's not 1-for-1, obviously, but imagine if like Alex Ring and Maxi Urruti were missing for the majority of the season. We wouldn't be in the spot we're in, I don't think, without guys that are as important as that. So I think those two guys are expected back certainly Bobby Wood later this month, and I think Krylock has a chance. Krylock had a back issue, removed part of a herniated disc. So just thinking again, now that we are in playoffs, we can really truly start thinking about these matchups, right? And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that today and going forward through the end of the regular season here. But if they get those two guys back and we see them again in the playoffs, just something to keep in mind. I think they were somewhat toothless last night. We'll get into it. Didn't threaten too much, although they were up in the shot category at halftime. I think more than doubling. Just kind of a wider view on RSL and some perspective on maybe why they look so toothless and are now sitting on a -3 goal differential this season, and still in that 7th spot, still a playoff team. When this game started, Austin threatening right away, like in the stadium, it felt similar to that Portland game where, like,
I was going to say, a lot of similarities.
We were threatening and it just like the chances weren't falling. It kind of continued that like theme that we've been talking about where like we're not getting the bounces lately. Of those 50-50 balls, headers directed right to the keeper instead of into the ground, things like that. 3rd minute, RSL turns it over. I would actually say Driussi steals this ball, I think. Kind of near the top of their 18, passes through to Maxi, a little bit heavy to the right side, but Maxi kind of picks it off the end line, keeps it in play, rotates it out to Rigoni, who's on that right side, he swings it in, and then Alex Ring is streaking in and just narrowly misses his head. So again, threatening right off the kick. 2 minutes later, Driussi, fantastic long through ball, kind of from the left side of our half to a streaking Rigoni down the right side. And he crosses to Maxi. Maxi redirects the touch off the crossbar. So again, your perspective in that room with, some of our buddies, but watching not at Q2, did that kind of energy come through on the broadcast as well?
Yes, for sure. And I think that the similarities between these last couple games here, we're going to touch on as we progress through the recap. But came out aggressive again. Good attempts, good looks on net. Something doesn't go our way. And again, it started to feel like that press because obviously we wanted to get off the schneid a little bit, get that first goal and really be rolling. Again, same concept. People have scouted us now. They know how we play. They sit back and they play it over our heads. They play the long ball. They try to get out in space that way. So this is how people play us now. We have to be ready for it. But I thought we looked good. I also thought they looked good. I thought that they played really well, particularly in the latter part of that first half. But I thought we came out great. Seba had some balls that were just all night long, just absolutely incredible passes that just dropping it on people. That one he put on Finley, I know we'll get into it, but I'm excited to talk about that one. We were ready to go. We wanted to see a goal. And again, it felt like it was coming, but it wasn't there quite yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you said, RSL looked really sharp, particularly in kind of the second half of the first half, if that makes sense, right? First 20 minutes, I thought, was kind of Austin won that first portion of the game. Agreed. Even though RSL, they threatened a few times, especially winning some corners. And those, set pieces have been nervy moments for us over the last month or so. And I thought the back line, and I'll include, really, it was a team effort.
Stuver was amazing.
Stuver, I thought, played great. And nearly almost everybody else in the lineup, I can think of at least one time where they made a key clearance, got their head to a cross.
The Rigoni slide.
Exactly. And that's one thing I was going to get to in the second half, which I guess because you brought that up, this is obviously early in the second half, but the energy, maybe you guys were feeling it watching across the country, just like we did at Q2. I thought that was maybe Rigoni's best moment of the game came on that kind of defensive chase down.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I agree.
But not to get ahead of ourselves too much there. Again, after the early threats by Austin, RSL, kind of going back and forth a little bit. 17th minute, Danny gets a ball from Driussi in the RSL half. Kind of spins around like a top, as he does. Very agile with the ball, can control it really well, and with not a lot of space to operate with. In this situation, kind of had the space in front of him, and something that that I kind of call for a lot when he has the ball is, hey, take the space that this defense is giving you. Because I think a lot of teams have scouted him out where, like, if Danny Pereira is allowed to distribute, right? Like, that's what he wants to do.
Yes.
So they kind of try to play the passing lanes, right, when he's on the ball. And this time turns, sees the space in front of him, and kind of attacks the 18. And just before he gets inside the box is taken down from behind. So wins a free kick from the left side. And again, we see that pairing, Fagundes, Rigoni, lined up over the ball. And a little bit, what did, if anything, because again, we're recording this Thursday morning. I did not have time to watch the full game back. So some of this I'm going off of just my memories from being in the stadium last night. Did Adrian Healy or Michael Lahoud have anything to say during that free kick? Because in the stadium, it took a while for the official to kind of sort things out in the wall. Maxi Arruti and I want to say Alex Ring were kind of worming their way into the RSL players there standing along the wall. What did you think about that setup? Because I think I was focused more on, like, is Diego going to try to curl this in, or is it going to be Rigoni? Because I felt for sure that it was going to be put on net.
Yeah. I do not recall anything in particular that they said on the broadcast during that moment.
I'm just not familiar, like, the rules, like how many guys can we put there? How close
can you, like, alternate them?
Right. Like, and what's the, what's the limit where an opposing player, that being an Austin FC player, get into a defending team's wall? Like, where can you place players? I maybe something I should look up after this, or any of our folks listening here. If you've got some insight for us, definitely don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Because again, our relative soccer novices when it comes down to the nitty gritty rules like that. Anyways, Diego ends up taking that free kick, and it goes off the wall, but it looked, and again, that's right in front of us there in the north end. It looked extremely dangerous coming off his foot, even though it didn't end up. It goes just over the crossbar, even after the deflection. Yeah,
I thought it would have been a goal if it didn't get clipped there.
Well, and I think it's a big positive, even though it's been a couple games now, I think, right, that we haven't seen since the LAFC, since we've seen Diego convert on one of those. And again, he's got the only two in club history, but he's we know he's got the ultimate confidence right now when he's taking those direct free kicks. And I think that is a significant positive heading into the playoffs now, that we've got at least one guy who feels really confident about being able to threaten on those free kicks as a goal scorer. And the fact that, we still have Rigoni, and you can put Driussi on those too.
Absolutely.
I just think, again, like, we're still, just like we said prior to this game, right, when we were with Phoenix on Sunday, there is a long way to go in this regular season. Even it's just 3 games, but it's still almost a month.
Yeah.
And so it felt like last night is the beginning of building that form towards the first playoff game now. But we'll see. It's, again, long way to go, and that's a long time to keep up good form.
Again, I think I just want to say, I think we have been building it. We just didn't get results. Outside of the Nashville game, we haven't got the if you look at it on paper, you're like, damn, they're playing terribly. But having watched every moment of every game, I can assure you that it hasn't been that bad.
Right. Not as bad as it felt.
Yes, and it was it must be weird to have this break in the middle of the season too. I
Yeah.
feel like
Well, think
just such
about
an odd time as well, like right a couple games before the playoffs.
Well, at least it's just one weekend that there's no games. And I think that's
Mhm.
that's nice if you're trying to gear up for the playoffs, especially a team like Austin that is not going to be the deepest team out of the
Yep.
field once we get to the knockout rounds. And but it's also not as extensive as that June break that we saw that was 3 full weeks, right? Where they were playing
Yeah.
heavily those last World Cup qualifiers.
Yes.
So yeah, and you mentioned the Nashville game. Did you feel like the Nashville game was worse? That 3-0 defeat was worse than the Seattle 3-0 defeat? Because I felt worse after the Seattle game.
I think I think Nashville outclassed us for a longer period of time in that game, and much more deserving of a 3-0 win than the Seattle game.
Yeah, fair enough. Right. So a few minutes after that free kick, RSL, and I think this is kind of where it shifted for me. 21st
Yeah.
minute,
Yep.
RSL, threatening from the wing again, and this one not deflected out for a corner as the first few true RSL chances were. Cross from the left finds Brody. Brody, the player who scored the winner up there in Salt Lake a few months back.
Correct.
And I believe was a header then as well. Finds Brody's head and puts it down into the ground with some velocity kind of going across right to left. And Stuver has to make a diving save. I don't know if it was actually going to go in. It looked like it may have hit off the post, but a good effort from Stuver, again, to your point earlier. A great night for him and the defense as a whole.
Yes, absolutely.
28th minute, long through ball from the right side, just kind of down the right side, I guess I should say. Long through ball to my favorite name on RSL, Rubio Rubin.
That's a good one to say.
And so he gets in one-on-one versus Stuver and puts it wide left. I thought that was probably their most dangerous chance of the game.
I agree. That was their best chance. And again, if that goes in and we're down 1-0, this game is just completely different.
When I told you,
so yeah, this was the moment where it was like, okay, they're here. We've had our chances. And, sometimes we've given up a goal in those situations after a slight letdown from having not scored a crossbar hit, something disappointing. But we were poised to last night. Like you said, the defense played very well, extremely cohesive throughout. And shout out Brad, man, because he has been a little shaky.
Well, and
he's fantastic.
He's been a little shaky at times, and he's been left out to dry at times, right?
For sure.
By his defense. So, we can look at the schedule. We talked about it with Phoenix. We had only had one clean sheet in the last 11 games, that being that SKC road victory, and that we played half the game a man up. So that's a little bit. It's not an asterisk, but it's got that type of feeling where it's like, well, that's what they should do. Right, when you get to play half the game, a man up. So only the second clean sheet for the squad in the last 12 games, and the first home clean sheet since Vancouver, all the way back on April 23rd. That was the game, I believe, the game after the San Antonio FC loss in the Open Cup. So it's been a while.
Holy smokes,
since we did not concede at home. To close out the first half here, 30th minute, I did notice this. Like I said, I didn't get to rewatch the entire game, but I did see this on the Austin FC stream. Did this happen for you? I know you were watching the ESPN Plus feed, so
it was the worst stream I have ever. Bro, it looked like we were on it felt like I was on mushrooms.
Right.
Every single player had a ghost of themselves that just trailed them. It was the worst stream I have ever seen in my entire life. And people were like, yo, your friend pays money for this service. And this is, I don't know if because the TV we have here in the Airbnb is really nice.
Uh-huh.
But oh my gosh, it was at some points it was just unwatchable. And like when things slowed down, it could catch up. But then as soon as it picked up pace again, people were moving, running, whatever it may be, it was unbelievable how bad it was.
Interesting. Well, again, I know that was the ESPN feed. Did you have the Austin announcers or was it the Salt Lake announcers? So you heard Healy and LaHood.
Correct.
I wonder if that was maybe just your internet there or what, because the ESPN streams have been pretty solid. I don't know. That's unfortunate, but at least you ended up in a good mood after those struggles. So
it's true.
So on the Austin stream,
yep.
And I guess people who were watching that can let me know on the rewatch, 30th minute, there's 30 seconds at least of like America's Got Talent or something. It switches to NBC.
What?
And I don't know that it happened on the replay to me this morning. So I don't know. Like, I would love to hear from somebody who was watching the stream if they can confirm that actually happened, because we both know that there's been some issues with that Austin FC stream, freezing, pausing, skipping around. So I'm ready for that Apple TV deal to kick in next year. But that was a new one. That happened. Different channel shows up. 3 minutes after that, calls for an Austin handball in the box. Waved away by the keeper, but it did look funky. We'll say that.
His arms are, not a very natural position for that defender.
But as they're calling for a handball, Anderson Julio gets on it, turns on a ball right at the edge of the 18, and Stuver has to parry it away. Some velocity on that shot. It was right at Stuver, but it was too much for him, it looked like, to really bring in cleanly.
Yeah.
Parries it away far enough where there was really no danger after that. And really the last 10, 12 minutes, we only got 1 minute of extra time, which I thought was accurate. Kind of a very timid end, I thought, to the first half. Both teams seemed maybe not content, but I guess resigned to the fact that was going to go into the half 0-0. And then the second half obviously is where all the action was, right? So I think it was the 55th minute, somewhere's around there, when we had that Rigoni defensive play.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yes.
Oh, so
right before he came out. Right before Rigoni came out, he makes that spectacular play. And
exactly.
I think outside of just how awesome of a play it was, it showed his commitment really to what we're trying to do. And we needed a fucking win so bad.
Yeah.
We needed a win so fucking bad there. And he was all in, and that was spectacular to see. And then, yes, here comes the triple sub.
So before we get to the sub, I did want to just touch on Rigoni one more time, because this was something both Jose and I noticed in the stadium that I don't think would have been visible, or at least super, super obvious on the stream, was that they were, the Austin players, targeting Rigoni like crazy, trying to get him touches, trying to get him opportunities to put the ball on net, to the point where, and I guess that is obvious because you can see who they're passing it to. But the one thing that stuck out to us was the ball was, I want to say Kolmanic or Danny, somebody had it right around midfield. And of course, Rigoni's on the right. Although I shouldn't say, of course, Rigoni and Fagundes did switch sides twice. And I think Kevin Morris had this right, which, by the way, man, I would love to get Kevin on the podcast. I've mentioned him multiple times. One of my favorite follows kind of in the Austin FC fan base or space, whatever you want to call it.
Verde space.
So he was, exactly. He was saying he was saying he doesn't think that there's necessarily some sort of trigger or indicator for when those guys are going to switch. It may just be that the play, a play brings Rigoni to the left, or a play, Diego fades more to the right in transition or whatever it is. And then the fact that they can play on both wings that they just stay there, and then on the first chance they get to reset, they go back. So I think Kevin's probably correct there. But yeah, so again, that ball, like the ball is kind of near midfield, and 3 Austin players, I think it was Ring, Maxey, and Driussi, all are looking at whomever had the ball and pointing at Rigoni. Like, pass it. And this is like across the field.
Okay.
And so that's where it like set in for us is like, man, they are locked in on trying to get 77 the ball. There was another time too where Kolmanic actually kind of, I think, overlapped Diego on a break on the left side in the first half. And Diego crossed it to the right to Rigoni. Ended up, they didn't get anything out of it. Like literally, but Kolmanic was wide ass open with a ton of space, and like on the left side,
on the left side,
the only place that he's dangerous on offense,
above average, yeah.
And that at that time, I will say, I think it was Ring and Driussi in the box pointed at Kolmanic, like, okay, like we should have maybe broken the plan for that. But yeah, just some observations there. 11 rows up. Like you mentioned, triple sub, 58th minute. We see Finley on for Rigoni, which I thought Jose and I were discussing in the stadium. I thought 60 to 65th minute would be where we saw this type of sub, but we certainly can't argue with it now. But I did then in the moment when he took him out 58th minute, I was like, okay, like we play again Saturday. Maybe if we didn't have a game for a week, I would be complaining a bit that these guys are coming out too early, but I would like to see Rigoni start again and play his 55 to 60 minutes against Nashville on Saturday. And I think taking him out when Wolf did was pretty necessary for that to happen. Going back through the game logs on Rigoni in Sao Paulo, he hadn't played 90 since like early May.
And we brought up his conditioning, and coach has brought that up before. And for what it's worth, I don't think he was huffing and puffing last night.
I don't either.
But now, retrospect, obviously not in the moment. We were tied. I remember I sent a text to the group.
You did.
We sub 3 people now before the 60th minute. Like, this is who we are.
Yeah.
So I think that was partially because still 0-0. Obviously, like you said, it was the right call. It changed the entire game. And yeah, I think that was probably, looking back on it, the right amount of time for Rigoni to be out there.
Yeah. So, and again, like this is what we've been talking about. What we've been waiting for is that you can take Rigoni off, and now Finley is in the position that we initially signed him for.
Correct.
And I thought he played great.
Yeah.
As we've come to expect, right?
Yeah.
And the 2 other subs there, John Gallagher in for Zan Kolmanic. So I do think we probably see Gallagher back in the 11 on Saturday.
I agree.
And I wouldn't be surprised. We'll talk about lineup predictions, but Hector Jimenez would not be surprised to see him get in there for Nick Lima, who I think Nick Lima has been playing much better over the last 2 or 3 matches.
I also thought Nick played good last night.
And the big one, Maxi Ruti comes out for the big body, Moussa Djitte. And Moussa Djitte wastes no time getting involved here. 2 minutes after coming on. First of all, Diego Fagundes from the left side, the outside of the boot cross.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Insane.
And Moussa making a run, which, one thing I think we saw in particular last year when he came over in the summer transfer window, obviously he wasn't finishing a lot of balls that maybe we thought he should have done better with. Mm-hmm. But I think one thing that frustrated certainly Coach Wolf, and then by extension the fans, was that Moussa wasn't necessarily making the runs that he should. He was sometimes, I think, clogging up other lanes for other attackers and kind of maybe hunting that goal a little bit more than paying attention to the system, right? Because as much as Phoenix may want to throw the plan out the window, That's not what Wolf does, right?
No.
And so I thought that not just this first goal, but Moussa just looked much more in sync with what was going on the field, particularly from our guys and our shape and build up. Just fantastic run near post. Ball bounces once and then Moussa just kind of one times it. Like the junior version of that Holland goal from yesterday. I don't know if you saw that, but that was amazing. And like shades of that, Moussa kind of like, raises his foot up in midair and taps it past McMath for his first goal since. And I was mistaken on this. I tweeted out that he had only had one goal in his Austin FC career, and I'm mistaken. He's got two. Obviously, the first one last year against LA Galaxy. I had forgotten that he scored the equalizer against Orlando earlier this year at home. How could I forget?
Right?
What's that?
That was to save a point, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Tied at the 95th, I think.
Yes, correct.
In that one.
Huge. Yeah.
Where Orlando was down to 9 men in that wild game. But so apologies to him for forgetting about that goal. Shame on me. Obviously, he also had the Cincinnati play at the end of that match, the opener this year, where it was credited as an own goal. But he was either going to get that own goal or get an assist because Fagundes was right there on that play. So, but again, long story short, the first time we've seen Moussa been truly threatening or have that success since the Orlando match. And so great finish there. In reaction to that goal, RSL subs on Sergio Cordova for my favorite name, Rubio Rubin.
Rubin.
68th minute, we see Romagna come on for Cascante, who I wanted to ask you about because I saw a lot of people on Twitter last night and in the We Are Austin TV Twitter space, which shout out to Hernan, man. They went past midnight Central Time. They actually outlasted me. I was like, man, you guys, they've been going for 75 minutes now. I was like, I got to go to sleep. We got to get up.
You got to get a sub. You got to get subbed out.
Yeah. So I thought there was a lot of talk about how Julio played really well. I did not have the impression that he played above what our expectations should be of him. Did you have a feeling on Julio and his performance? Again, 68 minutes on the pitch last night. He's been the subject of a lot of our ire over the last few games. How did you feel about Julio?
He was fine.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything catastrophic happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Cost us a game.
He almost did. At least from our angle in the north end. There was one time, and Jose said it to me, it was like, there's not going to be a game where Julio doesn't make a questionable pass that leads to a threatening chance by the opponents. There's not going to be a game. Like one of these things are going to happen. Questionable pass. The ball's going to squirt past him between his legs, whatever.
Yep.
He's going to miss a header. And we know every single game, the official is going to talk to Julio in the box about something.
For sure.
The game, Austin FC game doesn't really start until Julio's is addressed by the official. But yeah, it was, I think, early to mid second half where a ball did squirt through his legs right at the top of the 18. That may have actually been the Rigoni slide. I'll have to go back and watch it, but I think that was that play.
And the Rigoni slide would naturally just kind of erase that moment from my memory. You know what I mean? Sure. I'm blanking on it right now, but of course that makes sense because that was the play.
Yeah. So Romagna on for Cascante, and I thought Romagna was fine again last night. I don't think he did anything that we didn't expect him to.
Yes, also fun. Did his job.
Then Danny Masovsky comes on for Anderson Julio, Justin Merriman for Diego Luna. So two players that are starting quality, Merriman, Masovsky, threatening, but coming off were two threatening players in Anderson Julio and Diego Luna. So At that point, obviously just 1-0, 5 minutes after that double sub for Salt Lake.
With us now, buddy.
Yeah.
You gotta do it now.
We've got a Diego corner. And that kind of, it doesn't get cleared, but gets touched up into the air by an RSL defender, heads it up into the air. It falls to Finley on the right side, just outside the 18 there in the south end. Finley one-times it and just bangs it off the post.
The fucking control on that.
Yeah.
To not sail that, like launch it completely over top, like into the stands, was incredible. Because he hit it perfectly.
It was not dissimilar from the John Gallagher goal, I think against Red Bull, where like it was obviously on the north end and the left side of the net, but ball like drops to him and he just hits it.
I think this one was more challenging.
I agree, especially it was in the air, right?
Yeah,
and the shot was in the air too. It wasn't on the ground. That hit nearly the upper 90 there.
Wicked screamer.
But it comes off the post, and I couldn't see which RSL defender it was, but tries to head it clear, and just a poor header there. Doesn't get nearly enough, oomph behind that header.
How could you be expecting that shit to ricochet off, though? You know what I mean? Like, and that was coming off with some velocity. Like,
yeah, it was.
So a challenging spot for the defender to be in, and then the body.
Yeah, it falls right to Djitte, and he one-times it, and he does not miss.
Spectacular. Yeah.
Opposite side of the goal, buries it, and then just kind of struts. Yeah. We're audio only.
The French McGregor.
We're audio only, but I can see Ian, and he's a great reenactment there of Moussa's second celebration. Ruben coming up to him, hyping up the crowd, giving him his props.
It was on at that point.
And there's no way to prove this. And I guess first I'll say 2 minutes later, Aaron Herrera gets free on the right side of the box and puts it on net, and another great Stuber save, kind of to cap off the clean sheet in his great night.
Yep, a highlight play for him there.
And just a couple minutes later, we get another chance for Austin FC, but I'll say this, and there's no way to prove it. Jose saw me do it, but he might not back me up. I don't know. I typed out, I'm going to take credit here.
Oh boy.
I typed out a tweet after the second goal that said, who would have thought that Moussa Djitte scores the first hat trick in Austin FC history?
Hell yeah.
I did not send it.
Well,
I thought I was going to jinx it. I was like, if I send this,
you got to risk it for the biscuit.
But I did not want to taunt the soccer gods like that. And so
Bro, you got like 34 likes.
Hey, maybe 35.
Shit, maybe 35.
But hey, again, I'm going to take credit because in the 80th minute, Moussa does get the first hat trick in Austin FC history. But we need to talk about this play because there are 4 guys in this play that I think deserve all the credit, like equal credit to Moussa on this goal. First of all, Ruben Gabrielson steps in, intercepts a pass, and starts the break. We've made jokes, obviously, last year about Johan Romagna solo missions. We've been joking about the failures of Julio Cascante's solo missions, again, for lack of a better term, when one of the big boys takes off up the field. And this is the closest thing we've had to a Ruben solo mission, but he was not alone. 4-on-3 break here. Gets into the RSL half, lays it off to Diego on the left. So the Austin FC lineup here on the break is Diego on the left, then Driussi, Ruben in the middle. This is going left to right, and then Moussa wide right. So Ruben hits Diego on the left, and as they continue to matriculate up the field, Driussi makes a run, kind of, I wouldn't say wide left, but kind of in front of Fagundes. Right, dragging a defender with him.
Yep.
Ruben kind of follows the space that Driussi has created, and he runs near post. And Diego puts a ball on the ground through at Ruben And Ruben, with a beautiful dummy, lets it roll through.
Did he not get a foot on that?
I don't think he did.
I thought he redirected it.
If he got a touch on it, he was not awarded an assist. I don't believe that was, and I thought in the moment that he left it. Well, and now I'm looking. I guess he did at least fought mob, and I'll touch on this too. I don't think because you were traveling yesterday, and I don't even know if you know this yet. You know that Driussi is still on 4 yellows?
No, I thought
so. Check this out. I went through this. Put my foot in my mouth on Twitter yesterday. It's an app. It's like a statistical platform.
Okay.
It's definitely it's my favorite one. I think it's probably the most popular, at least from what I've seen other people posting statistical screenshots. I'm a fan of the reference sites, your Basketball Reference, Pro Football Reference, etc. Mm-hmm. So FB Ref, I use a lot as well. So on FB Ref and on FOTMob, Sebastian Driussi has 6 yellow cards on the season. On the MLS website, he has 7. And there is a rule that I'm not sure the Austin FC coaching staff knew about, that you can only have the good behavior clause, for whatever you want to call it, right? Where you play 5 games without discipline and you get a card taken back. You only get 3 of those per season. And so Driussi has already had his 3 used. And so him playing the other night in Seattle did not
absolutely nothing
take a card away. So I was yesterday, there was some questions about it popping up on Twitter. Chris Bills, I think a Nashville fan maybe pointed it out initially. I know. And so I saw that. You can imagine what I did.
Oh no. This might have led to your trepidation about the hat trick tweet.
Sure.
Because you had already had a little.
We could say that. You know. Well, and then I forgot Moussa's goal too. His goal this year.
Shit, man.
So
I thought I was on vacation.
Not my best performance yesterday, but so I get on there on Twitter and fire off. He's got 6 yellows on the year. It doesn't matter when the 3 were taken away. Yeah. 6 minus 3 is 3. He's on 3. And go to the MLS site. There was a yellow card issued to Driussi in the Colorado match on the 4th of July. That was when Kip Keller got his red card, if you'll remember. The ESPN replay was blacked out for me, obviously being in the Austin city limits, and that replay is no longer available, to my knowledge, on the Austin FC site. So I went to the highlights, and you can see for a half second after the ref sends off Kip Keller, here comes Driussi streaking across the screen, running at the ref. Apparently was given a yellow for dissent there. And that yellow card is not on FB Ref, and it is not in the game breakdown on FOTMob. But it is in Driussi's match log on FOTMob, and it is, most importantly, on the MLS website. So Sebastian Driussi still there on 4.
He has gotten a yellow this year for, you just say, dissent?
Yeah, just,
And they also gave him one for excessive, trying to draw a foul, right? He got a card.
Was that him or Diego? I thought it was Diego that they carded for simulation.
No, it was Seba, because it was hella disrespectful. It's like, what? That was hella disrespectful.
Yeah.
Especially considering the shit that happens throughout the course of the season with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that is wild.
Well, so what sparked that, and I did pretty much immediately apologize to that Nashville fan. I'll fire off, if we get this win on Saturday, I'm going to fire off plenty more things towards Nashville fans. That was my mistake. And again, can we fucking get these stats synced up?
Can they synchronize it? Get the synchronization process.
I understand the assist part where MLS counts like the hockey assist, right?
Mm-hmm.
and that if FBref or like these other more official, like the global soccer stat platforms, right? If they don't count them, I understand that. But to not have cards accurate, how could that be?
No, that's wild.
Right? Like, don't you just, isn't there a game, you know, we're pretty familiar with basketball, how the stats are passed around at that between the various levels. Like, it's all uniform.
Yeah.
And so how could a box score be different on one site to another? It was perplexing. So what started me down that path was seeing that I think you are correct. FOTMOB has Ruben Gabrielson for the assist there.
He touched that.
So it
was insane. Because it went right to Moose.
Regardless, right? The point is that Ruben, I mean, maybe the play of certainly his offensive play.
His offensive, yes.
And this is a guy who's had the opening goal at LAFC, the game-winning goal against DC United in that, you know, Pollo Libre, right? Out
the
there
legend
in DC.
Yeah.
So that play was just phenomenal. Like I said, I think all four of those guys deserve credit for that goal, but it is Moussa Djitte who he had so much time. He took a touch, he looked up, and buries it past McMath for the third time in 20 minutes. So this guy had 2 goals in his first 865 minutes with the club, 3 goals in 20 minutes last night. Again, the first hat trick in Austin FC history. Stadium goes bonkers, of course, on every goal. Bro, I threw, you know, we throw the confetti in the north end. I threw all of it after the second goal too, because I was just like, "What? We're not going to score again." It was 70 whatever minute, like, so we didn't even have confetti for the third goal. Moussa emptied the chambers for us. Last thing really in this game, Owen Wolf comes on for Diego, 85th minute, and that's that 3-0 victory. Austin FC. Let's to kind of close this game out, a couple of things to touch on. XG, everybody's or our favorite stat, especially after a win. Austin 1.85 for Austin last night. An even one for RSL. I don't think that's too far off. I thought maybe the XG for Austin was a little bit low because the third Moussa goal I thought should be really high. I could see the first 2 not being super high in that model, but with some of the chances we had in the first half too, the 1.85 seemed a little low for me, but you know what, XG at the end of the day does not matter. It's what's on the scoreboard and what's in the standings. So
we only control XG when we lose to somebody, but have a higher XG.
Exactly, and that's when it really matters.
That's when XG is at its finest. They have got us double us up on shots on net too, right?
So final stats here, ended up 17 shots to 14 in favor of RSL, but you are correct. Shots on target, RSL 6, Austin FC 3, all 3 getting past Zac McMath. So working on your game there, buddy.
Not a single save.
Diego Fagundes now at 20 goal contributions on the year, 6 goals, 14 assists. That 20 number ties his career high. So with 3 matches remaining, Diego looking for a new career high in goal contributions. Again, just to highlight what a year he's been having, overshadowed to be sure by Sebastian Driussi, and I still maintain the number 1 all-stars. You know, I don't know if snub is the right word because I look at that roster for the Western Conference. Or I guess it's not even the Western Conference, right? It's for the league.
Yes.
And I don't know who I take out. I think Diego deserves to be there, but like I can make at the time of the game, to be sure, I don't think I could make an argument on, you know, oh, this guy is the one he should be in over. Maybe somebody else could make a better argument than me. But I mean, it's a career year for Fagundes, for a guy who's been in the league over 10 years.
He's been incredible and just overshadowed by Seba, but not overshadowed for us. We see it.
In the fan base sees it, and the fan base has seen it since the day he got here.
Been beloved by this fan base, and rightfully so.
Another thing I wanted to talk about was the post-game press conference and particularly what Josh Wolf said about Moussa Djitte and some struggles that he's been going through this year. Apparently, just lost a brother. He's lost his grandfather this year, and he had a baby recently that he has not been able to see. And so to think about that type of real life stuff weighing on you, and we already know, even last year when he got here, right? He doesn't speak English. And I think I don't think he spoke Spanish either. And I think Coach Wolf kind of alluded to the fact that he's picking up, some phrase. I think he even kind of joked like he knows more Spanish because of who he's around here than English. But the language barrier, the distance from home, and now these other personal things. I mean, I can only imagine the release that he got last night, just with the entire stadium behind him, because it hasn't been that way throughout his tenure here. I think he has, I don't know if it's a love-hate relationship with the fans, or certainly the people like us who get on and bloviate about Austin FC and we're hot and cold on this player or that player. I think there's been plenty of times where not just you and I, but all of us have kind of thought, is this really going to work out for Moussa Djitte? And I think now certainly we have more perspective on what he's been going through. Similar to when Alex Ring was struggling earlier in the season, and it came out later that his grandfather, who he was very close with, had passed away, and he hadn't, they were delaying the funeral so he could get back there.
I mean, Moose is also fucking 22 years old.
Yeah, young boy.
He's 22 in a completely foreign country, doesn't speak the language, away from everybody he's ever known, and we talked about it for the team as a whole, where it was, how do we respond to a tough stretch? How do we respond to a bad loss? How do we respond to a game we probably should have won? And for Moose to respond in the fashion that he responded in last night, particularly with this new knowledge about what's going on in his personal life, and then add in the ejection, subsequent suspension, and to respond in the way that he did, just, I mean, hats off for the fucking hat trick. Absolutely, just, bro. Just let this be a historic day for him moving forward. Let's be able to look back on this day a couple of years.
This is the start, right?
This is the coming out party. I mean, just the 2 walks alone after he scored. Like,
well, and how that's what we didn't talk about.
Yeah, I'm here.
What about the third goal? Right, where he jumps into the stands?
That walk was even colder. The first part of that walk was even colder.
Gets into the stands, right? And then, I mean, just
the people
surrounded, grabbed, enveloped by the Austin FC fans there down in the first couple of rows.
Great word there, yeah.
And I think it was Kevin Morris. I think Kevin Morris tweeted, like, this man deserves all the hugs right now.
Yes.
And I don't think anybody could put it better. That the highlights of this match will forever put a smile on my face when we get to watch those Moussa Djitte highlights. Even and I know this won't happen. I'll knock on wood anyways. Even if he doesn't score another goal for us, this game will always put a smile on my face because of what he did, what he accomplished, and what it meant. I can only assume.
What it meant for the team, for the club. Well, also for the club. I mean, playoffs.
Absolutely. Well, and think about it like this, right? Like, can he, like, kind of like you were saying, right? If this is just the beginning of good Moussa Djitte form, that type of threat, not 3 goals every time, not even a goal every time.
Yeah, no.
Every time he comes off the bench.
Every time.
Right. But, like, if we see that Moussa Djitte, whether it's 30 minutes or a start down the road, maybe next year, whatever. But man, like, again, if we're adding these different types of threats, a couple guys that have been somewhat dormant throughout the season, and then obviously Rigoni coming in. We haven't mentioned Manchita today, but like he's still on the team.
I mean, also
can only mean good things.
Yeah, and the level of play around him now too. You know, all of that is elevated, and I think partially the look we got at him the first year, where you brought up he wanted to do a lot of hold up play. He could be clogging things up. Now there's other guys around him who doesn't have. He doesn't have to hold shit up.
Sure.
You know, we get it.
He can bring it down and dump it off.
Exactly. Just and then go, and then also you combine in 60 minutes of maxi press, and then 30 minutes of just big body hammer. You know, those center backs are tired, and I mean, shit. How many, nines are as large as him, as physically imposing as he is? Because he throws people around.
Dude, he is wide.
Yeah, and it's the big body foreign.
Big body, big with 2 G's, right?
Indeed. Yes. So I'm super. I mean, just the anticipation for the full integration of Rigoni, the anticipation of a Moose breakout, and I mean, I've been an adamant Danny Hosen supporter all season. But if you get 60 minutes of maxi press, 30 minutes of that, some tired center back legs, especially at this point in the season, sign me up.
100%. Last thing on this match. Yeah, we are signed up.
We
have been signed up
years ago.
Last thing from this match, after the whistle, I know they did not show this on the broadcast, but did you hear first streaker in Q2 history last night as well?
Snap.
Full nude.
Dang.
Full nude streaker. Luckily,
so mad I missed the game.
Luckily, did not engage with any players.
Okay.
Was just, because like, what a way to bring the mood down for Moussa Djitte if he had to just deal with some random dong in his face, right? Like, this guy ends up getting tackled, like makes it down to the north end.
Oh shit!
Kind of gets tackled right outside the 18 by security. So
how was his running form?
Not terrible, but he, I don't think we're putting him on the field anytime soon.
All right, we've given this clown enough airtime now.
I give props to the security man.
Good.
They took him down, and they held him down until they could get him some fucking shorts.
Damn,
so I think this guy walked off the field or was taken off the field in some team shorts.
Oh shit!
Who knows if he got to keep those on his way to
I doubt it.
Jail, but well, we know what's coming on Saturday.
We do. I hope they know
personal
what's coming.
For me. E.
Yeah, well, it's personal for us now. You made it personal, and now it has been personalized.
Yeah, well, and I think. Well, you know what I think about it. I think it's personal for Driussi. I think it's personal for the team. Because we know these guys are on Twitter too. They're on Instagram, etc., and they can see, at the very least, the fans going back and forth and what the narrative was after that game less than 2 weeks ago.
I can't remember what happened yesterday. So we're on. Yeah, I hope they know what's coming because I hope we got something for them.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we just did a Nashville preview and recap 2 weeks ago, so I don't think we need too much here on this preview. Obviously, last season, the 1-0 loss on the road at their old park, where I believe they were undefeated in 2021. Giotis is new for this season. So again, much worse result for us in Giotis than the old park, 3-0 2 Saturdays ago. Obviously, the Mukhtar brace. Mukhtar has scored again since then against the Galaxy, that PK in the first half last Saturday. So still sitting 2 goals up on Driussi for the Golden Boot lead. But I think with the result last night, an Austin FC win, and a Driussi appearance on the score sheet, I think this Saturday will at least vault him back into that conversation with some of the media pundits. and certainly give the Austin FC fans some more firepower to make their arguments for our guy on Twitter, etc. Another note here for this game against, we talked about the Nashville and Galaxy game with Phoenix on Sunday, the Ricky Pooch equalizer in the 99th minute. I think we're going to talk in the offseason about teams we would like to see, especially like Eastern Conference teams we would like to see come through Q2 next year. And then some players that we're excited to see that maybe we haven't had a chance to this season. Ricky Pooch, high on that list. But we may see him in the playoffs. So we can reserve that segment, so to speak. But he got that PK attempt off a Walker Zimmerman red card.
That's right.
So Walker Zimmerman not available for Nashville this game. And I don't, I could foresee some people, if Austin FC pulls out 3 points here, I could see maybe some Nashville faithful saying, we didn't have Walker Zimmerman, but them's the breaks, kids. Like, there's been plenty of games this year where we know where we are without a Danny Pereira, a Julio Cascante, a Kip Keller, a Moussa Djitte, whatever, whether it's yellow card, Johan Valencia last night. Obviously, he will be back Saturday. And Wolf actually said that he was going to start him last night before he got suspended.
That's right.
Maybe we see Valencia in the 11 come Saturday. I guess that's a good segue to our lineup predictions, lineup desires, and then predictions for the game. I will lead it off here because typically I think I throw it to you, E. So lineup predictions. I do think Hector Jimenez gets in there on the right for Nick Lima. I think John Gallagher too. I think we see both fullbacks rotate. And I'm going to say we get Johan Valencia for Danny Pereira. So I guess that means that's a fairly heavy rotation at the back there with three players. I do think we see Ruben and Julio start again, obviously Stuver. And I think the rest of the midfield and the attack is the same. So for me, both fullbacks, Jimenez, Gallagher in there, and I think Valencia for Pereira. And I think that's what I want to see too. Outside of Kip Keller getting in there for a start, like I want to see him. I don't think this is the game for it. So I guess that doesn't really qualify as a lineup desire for me. But that's what I got. What do you think about the lineup?
I like that. I mean, the lineup last night was I don't know if I've felt so good about a lineup in a long time. Just so excited to see that. I think Valencia, obviously, especially with the Wolf comment, we'll see him. Johnny's got to get rotated in there. I agree. Some Hector action would be very nice. I hope we go 60-30 split with Maxi Moose again. Yeah. And run that back. And I think, like I said, I had my initial reaction to the triple sub pre-60th. Mm-hmm. And that just might be what Rigoni has for where you're going to get the most quality out of them for 60 and under right now. And that is what it is. So I think we'll probably stick with Rigoni as well. And then I thought Finley played great last night. And I think that is also a nice little 1-2 punch to have. So I am on board with you. I don't have any other changes to be made to that.
All right. Well, then you know what time it is. Score prediction. Ian, how much is Austin winning by? Unless you're going to, throw a wrench into it, but I don't think so.
I'm definitely not that consistent with my picks, obviously. Mm-hmm. I like Austin here. Wow. I think it's a 3-1 game, and we finish up 3-2.
So get up 3-1, concede 1.
3-1, game is in hand. That second goal isn't anything that's like, okay, well, this, we might lose this game here, or concede.
So I mean, I don't really care when it happens. If we're up 3-1 and the other team scores, I think my butthole gets a little tighter.
Well, okay.
I don't. I think it's tough, like especially with the recent form and like what we know about Nashville.
All right, so
right?
we go up 3-1. Felipe comes in and just falls down for 10 minutes.
Okay, then I'm relaxed.
Yeah,
I don't care, and that may be the only thing that would save me from tightening up there, right?
Yeah,
Is like
that's right.
We give one up, but Felipe is in, and there's 10 minutes or less, and
he hates
the ref can add all the time on.
Yeah,
as he can add all the time on that he wants. Felipe is going to waste a good bit of it. I mean, the
3-2 Austin.
3-2 Austin. Felipe, first ballot Hall of Fame shithouser for in MLS history. I mean, obviously, we don't have the history, but
he has to be, man.
Right?
That's kind of why he's still around.
Has there been any other player? Like, obviously, we thought Driussi was going to be our bet. Like, he was brought in to be our best player. I think we will see similar things from Emiliano Rigoni. But has there been any player that has lived up to their billing more than Felipe Martins? Because like when we signed him, right, he was a trialist in camp this year. He scored the only goal in the first scrimmage, I think, against Toronto. That was the one where I was like out there on Verde Hill for 30 minutes with some of the other just Austin FC D-gens watching essentially through binoculars a scrimmage that we could not really see very well. Felipe Martin's the only goal in that first. It was either Chicago or Toronto. And then obviously signs with us, and the kind of reporting around him is like, hey, this guy, like, he's an MLS lifer, a veteran. And what always stuck with us was he is a guy that you love to have on your team, but you hate to play against or to be cheering against.
Absolutely.
And of course, that's what drew our buddy Guillermo to him. But yeah, I mean, I can't think of anybody else that is just like as advertised.
Yes, he lived up to the billing. And I feel like every team has to have one of these guys.
Yeah, every good team.
Right. You know, what's that? What's that one movie? The Goon or whatever. It's about this hockey player who he fights guys.
Oh yeah.
You know, he doesn't really play hockey. He just fights people. So I feel like that's our version. Oh, there you go. That's our version here with him. But yeah, he's been exactly who we thought he was going to be. And we'll take it.
Well, on our way out here, man, I mean, double pod week, midday on a Thursday, over an hour here. So we'll try to get out of here. But a couple things we wanted to touch on beforehand. I know if you're listening to us, you're most likely also listening to Top Flight. You're listening to Moon Tower. And those guys touched on the PSV partnership that was announced with PSV, the Dutch club, storied Dutch franchise out there in the Netherlands. Those I say the Moon Tower guys actually had press credentials and went and like covered it and met the Queen and
hot. What?
That was the
before she died?
No, bro. Okay, did you miss the Queen of the Netherlands coming to Austin?
Oh yeah. You said the Queen.
Yeah. Well, you know,
it could be Dairy Queen,
the one that matters to Austin FC. So they were there. They covered it on their pod earlier this week. So I don't think we need to add too much onto that. I think it's just it's a good opportunity for the club. We may not see tangible results from the partnership anytime soon, but the fact that we can learn some things from them about academy play, developing players, that we could potentially have player exchanges where maybe we get some of their guys that aren't getting minutes on a loan, maybe some of their young academy players on a loan here, and vice versa, right? Like maybe Owen Wolf ends up there in a year or two or three. I don't know how long that type of thing takes or how old, but maybe it's an Owen Wolf. Maybe it's a Micah Burton down the road. I don't know, but by all accounts, it's just it's a positive, and how much of a positive is yet to be determined, but it certainly can't hurt. So just did want to touch on that at some point here on the pod. And now that we're in playoffs, I think it's appropriate to look at the playoff picture every time we convene here on the pod. So obviously midweek games, looking at some of the results pertinent to the Western Conference. Minnesota, LAFC kind of continuing to just be unimpressive at best. A 1-1 draw. I guess a 1-1 draw at Minnesota is not a bad result, but I mean, this team hasn't found 3 points in a while, or certainly not stringing results together. So they are now officially behind Philadelphia for the Supporters Shield, and I think Philly pretty clearly in the driver's seat, because who's gonna stop them? Right, like
driving over every single team that gets in their way.
The Houston Dynamo, actually just kind of the wooden spoon contenders out west, making a huge push. Houston Dynamo 3-1 over New England, and Sporting KC 3-0 over DC United. So I think now DC in the driver's seat for that wooden spoon. I don't know if we call it an award, but designation, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we've seen though this year, right? Like New England, Eastern Conference team, DC, Eastern Conference team. Austin FC beat the shit out of the Eastern Conference, the teams they matched up with, and that's all you can do is play who's in front of you. And we see the dregs of the Western Conference taking care of business against teams. New England needs a win.
Yeah.
So to see those results on Tuesday was a little bit surprising. Last night, obviously, Austin 3-0, Colorado 2-1 over San Jose. That game not super important in terms of the playoffs, but what was important, Vancouver, LA Galaxy. Vancouver 3-0 over the Galaxy. So looking at the standings, the implications of some of those results, the Galaxy still 3 points behind RSL for that 7 seed. Obviously, Austin FC in the 2 seed now, or still, I should say, the 2 seed now with that cushion kind of restored a little bit. 7 points back of LAFC. So the only way Austin FC could, it's still technically possible. Austin FC would need to win their last 3 games. They would need LAFC to lose their last 3 games, and they would have to outscore LAFC by 8 goals. So probably not going to happen, but that is the scenario to get the 1 seed and a bye out west. So I think more important, to look below us. Again, that cushion restored a little bit. 5 points now over.
It feels much nicer now.
Yeah, third place FC Dallas, 5 points back, and also 3 wins back. So Austin FC will, if they end up somehow tied for points, Austin FC the upper hand there. Obviously, Dallas would have to win out in a tiebreaker situation there, and Austin FC would have to lose. I guess they wouldn't have to lose all of them because they could draw, and that could end things in a tie. Regardless, Austin FC sitting pretty there in second. 8 points up now on Nashville with 3 remaining, but obviously just adding fuel to the fire here on Saturday in terms of how important this match is against Nashville. Minnesota and Portland tied for 5th. Minnesota with the tiebreaker, 2 more wins on the year than Portland. So 5th seed Minnesota, 6th seed Portland. And again, currently the 7th seed is RSL, but LA Galaxy with a game in hand, they are tied with Real Salt Lake in terms of wins. So LA Galaxy obviously have a double week coming down the stretch here.
Yep.
If they get a win in that one game, they will vault into that 7th seed. The Sounders also a game in hand.
Shit.
Sounders in the 9 hole right now, 1 point back of the Galaxy. So I mean, right now, man, it's really Minnesota, Portland, RSL, LA Galaxy, Seattle Sounders, and technically Colorado not out of it, but Colorado sitting on 39 points, obviously 31 matches played to the Galaxy and the Sounders 30. So it does seem like the most probable matchup here, if we do clinch the 2 seed, is one of those 3 teams, RSL, LA Galaxy, and Seattle Sounders. And I think we mentioned Bobby Wood and Damir Kreilach potentially being back by the playoffs or sooner. Even if those guys come back, I think it's very clear to me I would rather play RSL compared to the Galaxy or the Sounders. How do you feel about those three teams?
Three teams that give us headaches.
Yeah.
Three teams.
I mean,
that
0 and
play
4,
us.
or not 0 and 4. Two losses, 2 draws against Seattle.
Yep.
Obviously, 1 win in, I believe, 5 tries against the LA Galaxy, and I think it's 1 win, 4 losses. That one win, Moussa Djitte's first goal, only goal last season.
They'd give us problems, but I agree with you. I would rather see RSL, but it looks like that's gonna be in flux until the end of this, until the end of the season here. So, I mean, whoever we get, come down to the queue.
Yeah, last thing here in terms of a playoff picture, I think, is to look at what is coming up this weekend. Obviously, Austin and Nashville.
Should be a juicy weekend for MLS fans.
Oh, yeah. Sporting KC hosting Minnesota. So some Austin FC implications there, I think. Obviously, we will be, the Austin FC fans, rather, will be at Q2. But those at home, maybe drop in on Kevin Lopez's SKC stream, give them some good luck, some well wishes, because Sporting KC getting a result against Minnesota would certainly help the Austin FC cause. RSL's back at home, taking on FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati needing a win, but we know RSL more potent at home in the elevation there. So tough outlook there for FC Cincinnati. Vancouver hosts the Seattle Sounders, so a Cascadia matchup there. We know that. Those are always intense.
Yep.
The Galaxy host the Colorado Rapids, so Colorado, quite literally the worst road team in the MLS this year. And also one thing, as I say that, you notice how I said in the MLS? Mm-hmm. Somebody pointed out on Twitter, and they're absolutely right. There is no the MLS. We don't say the Major League Soccer. It's just MLS. You know what I'm saying? The worst team in MLS, or the worst road team, I should say.
Someone pointed that out to you on Twitter?
Not to me. I saw somebody point it out in general on Twitter, and I think it's something that I should try to adapt to. Just like there is no offsides, there's just offside. So novices like me trying to practice and get on the appropriate level. San Jose hosting FC Dallas, maybe the most important game, as Dallas is the one directly on our heels. Hopefully San Jose can cause some madness there and help us out, as we've helped them out plenty over the last 2 years. One of the teams that we have not been able to beat yet. I guess actually both of those teams, San Jose and Dallas, Austin FC winless against both clubs. Sunday, Columbus and Portland. So there's playoff implications there in the West. Portland going on the road. And then LAFC hosting the Houston Dynamo. You have to think that LAFC finally gets back on track here. But Houston, they beat LAFC a couple weeks ago.
They did.
Obviously won on Tuesday against New England. So Sunday night, 9:30. That'll be, I guess, going head-to-head a little bit with Sunday Night Football this week in the NFL. But, I'll be dual screening it.
Don't call it the NFL.
Yeah, you do call it the NFL, the National Football League.
Why don't we call it the Major League Soccer?
That's just not. I don't think that's grammatically correct, is it? It doesn't sound right. The
so
Major
only
League
for
Soccer.
only for MLS.
Because it doesn't say like it doesn't say like association or league after it. Like the last word, right?
League is in there.
In the middle. It's Major League Soccer. So we would have to call it the Major League, the ML.
The Major League of Soccer.
Oh, okay. Assistant to the regional manager. All right, everybody. Almost an hour and 20 here. Midday on Thursday.
I gotta go, man. I gotta start drinking.
I would say I'll let E get back to the bachelor party. I'm gonna get back to work here. We appreciate you spending, whether it's Thursday afternoon, evening, Friday, anytime before Saturday night's match. We appreciate you being with us as always. We'll be back Sunday night, hopefully after the start of a new Austin FC win streak. E, I think you'll still be out there. We'll see your condition on Sunday night after day, 4 or 5 at that point of this bachelor party. I'm Good luck to you, sir.
I'm going to be the
that.
daddy.
And shout out to Peter. Congratulations to Peter getting hitched pretty soon. So yeah, man, we'll see everybody at Q2 on Saturday. And until then, vamos, Austin FC. Goodbye.
3, 2, 1.